Yeah, that's a little something from a couple of guys from Ilderton, Ontario. That is Reckneck from the Kilderton Floor studio in Ilderton, Ontario. So check them out. They are on our website. They are an artist on the label. They're not an active artist currently because they're both busy on other projects. But we're going to be talking about music tonight, and I love having this guy on the show. I'm hoping he'll become more of a regular contributor here because he's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to music, making music, playing music, and entertaining folk. So he's an all round guy and who has a great deal of knowledge when it comes to guitar work and guitar theory. In fact, some guys I know hire him as a hired gun to do stuff on their records. So, without further ado, his name is Kelly Kereliuk. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you again, Ken.
Man, look at you. You look like a genuine podcaster there. Do you look more like a podcaster than I?
I don't know about that.
Good thing that wasn't the microphone stand at the gig.
No, exactly.
Have you ever done that?
Want to smash my face into a microphone?
Yeah, at a gig.
I generally don't have microphones in front of me at a gig, but
Right.
there's been a few where it's just a dummy mic, it's not plugged in or anything, and I turn my head a little too quickly and
Yeah. It's unnerving when that happens, man.
it is if there's people there.
Yeah.
Not always is there.
You've got a book out.
I do.
Which I think is a knowledge, and I'm guilty. I said this before the show tonight that I'm extremely guilty because I have not read that book, and it sounds like it's worthy of, me spending some time to get to know what you've written in that book about guitar work and theory.
Well, thank you for saying that. It wouldn't take you much time because it's only about that thick.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not filled with a lot of fluff. It's really a get to the point way of getting people to understand the fretboard better than they do. A lot of players are pretty convinced that they know the fretboard quite well. And then if they're a student of mine or I happen to be talking to them at a gig or whatever, I'll quiz them on something. And the quiz usually is something like, okay, just play something. And then when I tell you to stop, I want you to name the note you landed on. And almost always they either just completely blank out or they go, hang on. And then 10 seconds later, they can tell me the name of the note.
It's funny. If my grandmother was interviewing you, she'd say, "That sounds like meat and potatoes."
It kind of is. Like the way I liken it to get people to understand what I mean by how well you know the notes. The analogy I like to use is imagine if you walked up to a painter who's painting this terrific mural and you just tap him on the shoulder and go, what color's on your brush right now? And imagine if he went, I don't know. Like, imagine an artist not knowing the names of their colors quickly. Right? Inconceivable. It would be like a silly notion, but that's guitar players. That is, I suspect, a lot of bass players, string players, maybe the violinists. I think they would have a better grasp of that. I'm quite certain. But guitar players, a lot of the time they don't. And to be honest with you, I'm fine with that. I understand it because you can make great music without knowing it.
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting thing that occurs with me and our Green Ink project is that when Brian and I are playing leads, I lock my lead solo in so it's almost exactly the same every time we record it because we record every session every week.
Right.
So we'll play for 90 minutes and record that whole 90-minute session, and then we sit down and we listen to it all back.
Yes.
And invariably, my lead solo is note for note every single week. But what Brian plays is different from week to week to week. I mean, it it changes the whole texture and version of the song because, and it's like when we started that process of live recording ourselves, it was like, this is just going to be a version of the song because Brian never plays the same solo twice.
Right.
And one thing I noticed about our drummer Mike, he'll put a different set of doubles or triplets in because he'll have listened to something the week before and he'll go, I can do this and this and this next time.
Yeah.
And that's what he listens to it through each week. He'll go, oh, and next week I'll say, you didn't put that fill in there last week, did you? He said, no, I changed it because I heard it.
Yeah, exactly. I think with something like a drum fill, it's not that the whole structure of the song for a drummer is going to change, but those little moments, those little connective tissue moments of like, okay, I got one bar or I've got two bars to improvise a little something. That's probably
Right.
why they're doing it different every time, is because they can. Like they have that spot where they're like, okay, I remember what I did last time. It was pretty cool, but I think I've got something that will work even better.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things, ways that you work together as a group, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
when there's certain things I do in songs that I consider to be directive,
Yeah.
just by
Yeah.
their nature. I will take a note and I'll put an accent on a note, or I'll hit something. Terry Marsh says, "Dude, Kelly is the king of strings."
Hey, Terry, how's it going?
Terry Marsh from Boiler Beach.
Yep. Yep. And
Uh,
actually, Terry, we met Terry, I think the very first Prism Mind gig. We opened for Killer Dwarfs, and there were two other bands with us that opened for them. And
wow.
I believe Terry's band, the name of it escapes me at the moment. Sorry, Terry. But I'm pretty sure that's where we met, here in Hamilton.
Now Terry Marsh, he's lived in different places, but they currently live in up in the northern Ontario,
Oh, okay.
up past Godrich. What's the next place past Godrich?
Iceland.
You might be you could be close, my brother.
There
You
it
could
is.
be
Gin and Toxic. He just said it. Yeah.
Gin and Toxic at the Absinthe.
Absinthe. Club Absinthe. Yep.
Is that in Hamilton?
It is. Yep. Downtown.
Okay. Well, Terry is with a band called Boiler Beach. Terry, Kincardine. They're from Kincardine.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's close to
Um,
Wasaga or Sauble. I can't remember.
um,
One of the beaches.
much closer to Sauble Beach.
Sauble. Okay.
Yeah, it goes Kincardine, then Port Elgin, I believe, and then you're up towards Sauble, right? We used to live in Owen Sound, and we used to take our kids down to the beach there all the time.
Yeah, we used to vacation up there as a family pretty
Well,
much every year for a long time.
I think we could make it to Sauble from our place in like 20, 25 minutes on a good day.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been
Yeah,
like-
it's like right in our backyard, and we take the kids to the beach after the tourists had gone home.
Right, right.
Right? So a nice beautiful day in September, we'd yank the kids out of school and spend the afternoon on the beach.
Oh, might as well if you can do it. Why not?
There's a beach up north of Sauble Falls. It's called Lonely Island Beach. And it's one of those coves off Lake Huron where you can walk forever out in the water and you're never more than hip deep in the water.
Oh, wow.
There's no undertow. It's just like being in this big, beautiful pond.
That's
But
cool.
you're right on this massive lake. And we used to take the kids there. We could go up there in mid to late October some years.
And not be chilled out, right? Like
No.
not be
No, it'd be like 85 degrees out. The
Right.
water's toasty warm, right? And again, we'd pull the kids out of school, make some memories, right?
not a bad
So,
thing.
yeah, and so music, you know, it leaves memories with us.
Oh, 100%.
And I use that conversation as a segue to this because you are no stranger to making music.
Fair to say. Yeah. That's for
Like
sure.
you work in a few original projects, right?
I do about 4 or 5, depending on how you want to count that.
Right. Are those all with active roles, or are some of those where you're just consulting in the project?
Yeah, a bit of both. A bit of both. A band like, let's say, Sound Chaser. Um, I'm not the primary songwriter, so I get handed a sketch of what the song is going to be, and I'm giving some direction as to what the band leader Art feels should be there. Ultimately, he does let me do whatever I want for the most part, but I do try to adhere to his suggestions before I, take it into foreign territory, which rarely happens because his suggestions usually work quite well.
That's really cool though that you have that relationship. That's a very mature approach to take to this.
I think it's sort of the professional way to take it. I mean, unless it's your project, then you should probably have some respect for the artists or artist whose primary vision it is,
Right.
and understand that they approached you because they like what you do, and they don't approach you if they don't think you would work with them
Now this
to.
is Art Griffin's Sound Chaser, right?
In this case, yes, yeah.
So in Sound Chaser, for example, has there ever been a time where like you've gone, I really like this, but Art wasn't sure, and you were able to sell him and say, yeah, it does work though. It really works. Has there ever been that moment?
If there was, it's extremely rare. Um, not to pat myself on the back, but there's moments where I'll take it where I think it should go, and as it turns out, when Art hears it back, he's like, "Yeah, that's still generally in the direction that I was hoping it would go, and I actually really like that. Never thought of that."
Yeah, I mean, and that's the cool thing about and that means that you've been able to develop a relationship with him that if you go outside the box a little bit, he's okay with that creative license, provided it keeps alive what he had envisioned for the song.
Definitely, and I think a lot of it you could say is attributed to the style of music, which is progressive rock, instrumental. There's a lot of open space. It's almost more like a soundscape than it is a song in the sense of like
Right.
verse, chorus, bridge. It's very rarely set up like that. There are moments where there's themes that reoccur within a song, but for the most part, and the majority of the music, as far as I could say, is a lot of it is more of just a ride. And you may be hearing the same basic theme for a while, but you don't feel like you're listening to the same thing because in comes the violin stuff, or in comes a keyboard part that differentiates it from the last minute, or a guitar part that does that. But the underlying thing a lot of the time is one solid, steady thing until it's time to break.
Now you have other projects that give you even more creative license.
Yeah, a band like Prism Mind, for example, or even Negus, Steve Negus's project from Saga. He'll give me quite a bit of leeway with stuff as well. Now he's another one who will have a general outline. He's a writer, not just a drummer. So he'll, before I even get there, he's got drum structured, he's got keyboards figured out, and or bass parts, sorry.
Right.
And there are things where he will suggest that I play, like maybe he wants me to double the keyboard line or whatever, and that's cool. But then when it comes time to create like a main theme or main melody, and he looks at me like this, then I know, okay, this is up to me to take it where I think it should go. And again, thankfully, I haven't met a lot of resistance to my ideas. So
Right. I want to do a quick shout out to Deanbo A. Harnish. He is in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he says, hey, Kelly, I see you did work for the album My Wicked Twin.
I did. Oh yeah, actually, I don't know if it's, yeah, I did
Brent Zerner.
for Brent. We did, I want to say it's 3 songs that I've done with him so far. So yes, you would be correct.
Well, you can be prepared to maybe do some more work with Brent down the road, because him and I've got a whole bunch of ideas for musical ideas that we want to, bring forward and record. Him and I've talked a little bit about some collaboration. I'm hoping I can convince him that we should be collaborating on stuff together. Him and I like to do some really. I like his music because it's very avant-garde.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. It's hard
It's
rock.
it's way outside the box, man. It does not fit into the formula of the straight up and down rock and roll music writing. It
No, but
doesn't.
it is still rocking,
Oh, it's still
right?
rocking, and it's a different way to groove. And what that came from was that Brent did not like that whole rock and roll formula of musical writing.
Right.
He did not want to be kept inside the box of, the 4/4 time stuff with no signature, time signature changes whatsoever. Straight up and down rock and roll. And he didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I could see that. He had an entire career based on it, right? So I could see if on his own he wanted to branch out.
Well, there was always stuff he wanted to do solo. And if you listen to every single one of his projects since he went solo, it every single one of those, we've been reviving some of them, right? He's got 6 studio albums out now.
Is it 6 already?
He
Wow.
has 6 studio albums, and they're full-length albums, and they're all really great tunes. They're well written. They're not for the average listener.
No, no, that is true. That
You
is
know,
true.
they're not. I mean, but and each one of them has a different musical theme to it.
I would say every time I've heard what he has sent me to play on, or every time I've heard something else that has come out with maybe another player, just has nothing to do with me, I'm always surprised at how I don't feel like I'm hearing this. I can tell I'm hearing the same artist, but I'm not hearing the same song. Like, yeah, you can tell that that's from the same bolt of cloth. They all seem very unique, which is really admirable because that's what I try to do when I'm writing my own stuff. If I'm doing, like, for example, with the Prismine album, I really want to make sure none of the songs sound like the other song. And then when we started embarking on number 2, I had to think back to number 1 and go, okay, I want to continue the same thread, but now I've got 9 songs that want to make sure I'm not sounding like for the next batch. So that's cool. If he can do that over the course of 6 albums, then right on, Brent.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's done. If you listen to each one of his tracks, they all have a different flavor.
Mhm.
He's got a song. I think it's from Twin Turbo. I think that was his second album after Decibel.
Oh, okay.
Remember the first one was Brent Durner's Decibel,
Decibel.
and
Yep.
yeah, and then I think there was Decibel Music, and then there was the Twin Turbo album. And Twin Turbo, I believe, had put some mustard on it.
I like the title. I don't think I've heard that one, but
Oh, you got to
I
watch the
like the
video.
title.
Go watch the video. It's on our YouTube channel
Okay.
on Indie Tunes Records on YouTube. Go check it out. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's in there. It's a great video. It's called "Put Some Mustard on It," and it's about putting mustard on your life. It's about spicing up your life and doing things that make your life count.
Right. So not hot dogs.
No, it's an
No.
extreme. I mean, it's an extremely well written song, and if you listen to the lyrics, and he's done a great lyric video for it. That's what's up on our YouTube channel, and the lyric video, you know, if you watch the words and you really understand what he's singing and how he sings it, put some mustard on it. It's got this really kind of cool groove to it, right?
Yeah, he's got a
And
knack for that.
yeah, and to me it's a combination. You've got this prog rock process going on there in the background, but there's a jazz fusion kind of thing going on there too. And you know, I said that to him. I said, there, you've got a whole bunch of different musical flavors in what you're doing, and you're the thing that you do, like with Prismine and um, Art Griffin's project, all the stuff that you do, you play a different musical flavor.
I'm thankful for that actually, because I would not want any two projects to be the same musical flavor. It would be hard to be excited to get involved in two things that were very close to each other for any, like, like to do a guest solo for something like that, fine, but to have two active bands where you're the guy, like, the guitar guy, I really enjoy the idea of them all being maybe recognizable as maybe, yeah, it kind of sounds like that could be Kelly, but I don't want them to be like, okay, clearly it's just Kelly again. Right?
It's really funny. Um, we've got a couple of songs. They don't sound the same when they start, but they have a very, very similar rhythm at the very beginning. And the difference between the two is one is played in F sharp and the other one is actually played in what is it? B? I think it's played in B. So they're very different ends of the musical scale. Um, and they sound really, really different once you get into the rhythm of the song.
Right.
But when you hear it at the very beginning, it's a very, very similar rhythm strum that takes you into the song, and you think it's one song, but it's not.
It's no. Now, if you can latch onto that and do it a deliberate, make it like a deliberate, almost foreshadowing, or Dream Theater has a knack of doing that. Well, they'll take a riff from an earlier album and they will bring it back deliberately on an album 3 albums away,
Yep.
just to have your memory of like, oh my God, I remember that song. And they do something different with it, but they bring it in to like bring the theme back a little bit. I think
Yeah,
that's a really clever idea.
and it's really weird because the two overriding notes in the one song is F sharp G. That's it.
Yep.
F sharp G. It kind of rides between the F sharp and the G, right? And then the second song, it rides between B and F.
Okay. You got a
It's
little flat
it,
5 going on there.
it's a weird dichotomy, when you go into it, and it's because the other song that goes from the B to the F is it's a darker, harder, harsher sound you're looking for.
If you were around in the 1700s, you would probably be burned at the stake for that particular scene. That interval, the flat 5 interval, was frowned upon heavily by the church. So, good to be
Well,
talking to you now.
it does sound really dark, and actually the topic of the song is actually kind of dark, right? Because it's about,
Beautiful.
it's really about the craziness that exists in the world today,
Oh, well, there you
right?
go. Totally
I
fair.
mean, there's so much crazy that is existing in our world right now. It's hard to tell what's normal anymore.
No, that's true. That's
Um,
true.
and so I, I don't worry about that. I take what's happening around the world and that influences my writing.
That's a natural thing. I think a lot of artists would totally agree with you on that, where that's their main tap in source of inspiration, is just what's going on around them. And if you're affected by it, or, inspired by it, then you'll come up with something based on what it is you're taking in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cool song that we do. It's called "Into the Light," right? And so, "Into the Light" could mean so many different things,
Hmm.
right?
Sure.
But it's a to me it's a very positive, uplifting song. It's about redemption. It's about how, one can redeem themselves. That if you have enough hope and enough love and enough care, you can redeem yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the song to me is about, being able to redeem yourself. It's about redemption of some sort or another. And redemption comes in all shapes and sizes.
Definitely.
But, you know, again, life influences, right? I was a registered nurse for 40 years. So I saw a lot of people who wanted to be redeemed.
At their worst moments.
Oh, they were at their worst. And that was when they realized that they needed to be redeemed. They needed
Yeah.
somebody to reach out and care enough for them that then life became more bearable, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
to me, that song Into the Light is about those people looking for something better and hoping that there's something better. And that's all we do. That's all we can do when life gets us down, all you can do is have hope that's going to get better.
That's it. I mean, take steps to do, things that will make it better too. You can't just
Right.
sit there and literally hope. You have to
No.
you have to be part of the action. If not, well, you might be waiting a while.
Yeah, and you were saying that before we started tonight, you talked about if you were only able to play one note, right? And what that one note would represent, right? It could represent like sadness, happiness, whatever, right? And when someone asks you to do that, like if they were going to create something that created some sense of happiness to the listener, what would you be doing?
Oh, you play the major third. You
Okay,
play.
and for us for us spodes that don't understand that, what is it? What's a major third? What is
Major
that?
third would be taking a major scale. So we all grew up with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? You can even hear the song in your head.
Yep.
Mi, do, re, mi, right? You take
Right.
mi and
Yep.
play that over do. So if do is the root note, so to speak, and you play mi over it, that is the happy note. That's the one that will part the clouds. That's your doorbell backwards. If you go, if you were to go, right? That's your door.
Right.
That's a major third backwards. So a normal major third would be that, the first and the third note. Now imagine if your doorbell was this.
Oh, that would be annoying, wouldn't it?
You would run towards the door with a knife, probably.
I'd be running.
Right.
I'd be running towards the door so quick to shut that
Right.
mother up.
What do you want? Right? Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So there's a reason for the intonation of things like car horns versus doorbells.
Keith Hill from the Sioux
Hey,
says
Keith,
one should always be able to know it was you.
I agree.
That's what makes
I
an
agree.
artist world class. No,
I,
leave your mark on it.
yeah, actually, just to play off of that for a bit, I know where he's going with it. Yeah, there should be signature fingerprint, thumbprint marks that a player has. What bugs me and what actually made me say what I said earlier about, oh, gee, you can tell it's that guy, because a lot of people play the same stuff no matter what their environment. It doesn't matter if they're playing a soft ballad, a thrash metal song, or a blues tune. They play the same licks for everything because they're not trying to fit the format. They're just trying to play the same stuff that they know and not get shot. So for me, it's about molding yourself, keeping your signature, keeping your identity, but making sure you fit in. It'd be like if you had, let's say you had three different sets of friends in high school. You had the jocks, you had the rockers, and you had the book club. You're not going to behave the same way with each of those groups. You're not going to jump into the jock group and act like you're with the book club,
Right.
right? You adjust. You swear more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we my project when we play live, we only play live 2 or 3 times a year, but when we do, we usually end up having to play some cover tunes.
Mhm.
Because they're usually at bike motorcycling events and they want to hear some cover tunes aside from our original stuff. So we don't learn the song the way it was written. We green inkify it. We put our own spin on the song, but we make it still sound like it should.
Yep.
Just we make it sound recognizable, but we take some artistic license and change things around a little bit to suit our own arrangement and our own feel that we're playing our own music that evening. So, when we start playing our own music, it sets a mood for anything else we do.
Right. Yeah. And I
And
think that's the way it should be to a degree. Like, I mean, you want the song to be recognizable. If you're a cover band,
that's right.
I
We're
think
not a cover band.
no, exactly. If you're a cover band, you have a little more obligation to be familiar to the listener and their expectation. If you're an original band doing the odd cover, I think it's really important that you do put your own stamp on it. Like,
right. So if you're a cover band and you're playing Sweet Home Alabama, you got to play every single lick the way it should
well,
be played.
I would now a
No
lot of
schlock.
it. A lot of it.
No schlock.
I think you should keep the main things. You should keep the things that people are waiting for, right? And
Right.
then the rest adjust to taste. Like whenever the cover band that I play in, when we do LaGrange, for example, half that song is a guitar solo.
Yep.
I'll begin the first part of the solo the same. I want the recognition, the recognizable parts. I think are mostly at the beginning of that solo, but from there I'll take it in my own direction. And I've had some people say to me sometime that like they'll see a video of us playing and they're like, "Oh, that's keeping it real traditional, Cal." And I'm like, so I say to them, well, that really wasn't my goal. My goal was to make it recognizable enough, and then I'm going to do my own thing under that umbrella. And then I said, by the way, if you care to, send Billy Gibbons a Prismine song and let's see his interpretation. I mean, right? But here's the thing. If you listen to an established band do a cover, they're not going to do it note for note to the original. For example, if you took the Queen song Tie Your Mother Down, you know who does a killer version of that song? Lynch Mob, George Lynch's band after Dokken.
Mm.
They do a terrific version of it. It's not like the original in a lot of ways. It keeps the spirit of it and amps up the caffeine.
There was a band that used to play in London at the old City Hall. We're talking back 70s. And I think Doug Vardy was in that band, and they did Tie Your Mother Down.
Mhm.
And they did a killer version of that song. There were very few bands back in the day that were covering Queen.
Yeah.
And if you could cover Queen, you were doing good.
Yeah, exactly. Or take any of the Metallica covers. You can tell it's Metallica, and they do all the time. They always do a great version of the song. They don't obscure it to the point where you can't tell what it is. But they're not trying to like literally step in the same footsteps in the snow as the original, because who cares? Who wants that? I don't want that, right?
Yeah, we don't. I don't think that we do anything a whole lot different with some of those trademark covers, other than the fact that we might play them with a different swing, a different tempo. It depends what we're feeling that particular night, right? And we might take a song, for example, Born to Be Wild. That's one they always like to hear.
Of course.
Right? And so when we play it, we play it pretty traditional Steppenwolf, but there's a couple of things in there that we do that are a little bit different. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just the nuances. So for example, I'll play a completely different cross note on the guitar when I'm chugging on that E note. And then I'll play an accent note to it.
Yep.
And it works, right?
And that's it. And no one's sitting there going, wait a minute, what is that guy doing up there? Is he throwing an accent note in that? Hang on, hold my beer. I'm going to go get that guy. No, those are things that you notice, the band will know.
Well, and Mike and I, the reason I started doing that accent note, so I'm playing like E, and then I switch it to an E minor seventh,
Yeah.
right? And I'm all I really am doing. I'm not hitting the whole. I'm hitting the last, probably the first, second, and third strings when I'm actually doing the accent note. And I'm just barely brushing the rest of the strings when I do the accent note. And what Mike has done is he puts a cymbal shot in there.
Okay. Yep.
So now we've added a different texture to the song. That's what we do. We don't take we take the basics of the song, and then we find other rhythms and things that we can do within that. Because
For
there's
sure.
lots of those songs are so cool that you can do a lot with it. It's the same as like if you went and listened to Eric Clapton play Cocaine, he never plays it the same way.
No. And no one gets on him about that. Right?
I mean, and I've seen it played dozens of different ways, and it depends on who the drummer is and who the bass player is on that tour.
Yeah, for sure. But
You
that
know,
makes it a different experience every night that you go to see them.
that's
Right?
why you could go see Clapton on one tour and then see him on another one because he'd have a completely different backline of musicians behind him.
Yeah.
Uh,
We should probably take this moment to give a shout out to all these cool comments here. We got Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. Very kind of you.
Jeff Pearson.
Keith,
You know,
as
Jeff?
always. Deanbo, I've been reading. I see them popping up. I see the pop up while we're talking, and I'm reading and talking at the same time. And if I sound like I'm missing words, it's because I'm reading yours.
Yeah, Kelly, you should sell doorbell sounds.
That. Oh my God. Hey, there's an idea for a download package, eh?
And Terry liked my comment about Spode. So that's a Brent Durner euphemism. So Brent Durner says anybody that doesn't understand something is a Spode.
A Spode.
Now, have you ever heard any of the Spode's music?
Well, I'm gonna have to admit right now, I don't even know what the hell a Spode is.
Okay, so there, Brent had another side project for a while called the Spodes.
Okay.
And they only put out a few songs, but they're so killer, man. They're killer. They did two different songs about New Year's.
About what?
New Year's 2013 is what it's called.
Okay.
New Year's 2013. Go to YouTube and check it out. Look under the Spodes for it. And if you want to watch something really, really unique, it's called New Year's 2013. And they did another one, a follow-up, New Year's 2014.
Okay. Are we looking to replace Auld Lang Syne with this?
Well, I'm telling you, they're great freaking songs. But after 14, he didn't know how he'd do 2015, New Year's 2015. He was trying to figure out words that rhyme with 2015. He gave up.
That would be tough. That would be tough. Okay, now my curiosity is piqued.
Yeah. So Brent, he's a big guy about words when it comes to writing music.
Yeah, I
and
can see that.
And lyrical content and how the song tells a story. It's almost like when he writes a song, he's got a storyboard.
Yeah, it's very visual. It's like a mini movie in a way.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever heard a song "I Giant"?
No, I don't think so.
You want to get messed up in the head? Listen to "I Giant." It talks about a guy, and he's got like an ego the size that his head can't fit through the door. Like it's a great freaking song. It's called "I Giant." I believe he did it. It's on our YouTube channel at TUNZ Records. Go check it, "I Giant," and it's all the video is all AI generated.
Okay, so his bread and butter.
Yeah, and he spent hours and hours coaching the AI to get the video, so that people didn't have 6 fingers and 10
Right.
and 15 toes and stuff like that. And so that, there's stuff that he wanted to purposely mess with people's heads. And then there was stuff where he wanted to keep it, straight up and down. But he literally spent hours. He bought he bought access to a program to coach AI.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To teach it what he wants it to create in the way of video.
More
And
succinctly, yeah.
yeah, and so he subscribed to this program that allows him to use AI, but he works with the AI and coaches the AI until it gives him what he's looking for.
Right.
And then inevitably he'll call me up, or I'll be calling him to, catch up with him, and he'll say, "I gave up on that project." And I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Oh man, AI still isn't there. It's too hard to teach, man." You know,
We're still in the
he
baby stages of that. It's going
yeah,
to exponentially blow up very quickly, though.
yeah, he said it's
Very quickly.
making my brain explode.
Yeah.
He said I can only take so much of that, and he said, and it keeps coming back with not what I'm looking for, and I know that it's still learning. But he said, after spending hours on it, coaching it, looking for one, and he said, I'm looking for like a 5-second scene.
Right.
I'm not looking for a 10 or 15-second scene in the video. I'm looking for like a 5-second scene, and it won't give me what I want, and I can't go any further in the project till I get it to figure out that piece for me.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I think that's going to get a lot quicker. I heard a podcast recently where they were talking about AI and how exponentially quicker it is learning. And it was something alarming to the rate of like it is doubling its capacity every 12 hours.
Yeah, I've heard some AI generated music. Um, you know, I don't I personally don't feel threatened by that.
No, not yet.
I mean, is when I think about this, this march with AI towards exceptionalism, I can't help but think that maybe the movie Terminator was right.
Life imitates
Right?
art in that case. Yeah. Well, they
Are
knew
we
something back then. They knew something
are
when they
we
made
heading
that
in
movie.
that direction? Are we heading in that direction where we're going to have to be afraid of AI because it's going to shut us down?
I think if you take the time now to not be afraid of it, adapt to it, and not be an idiot with it, like not ask it to go on a date, not ask it to deliver you pizza. Don't give it stupid information, which people are doing, right?
Oh yeah, people are doing that.
Yeah. Well, then you're feeding it idiocy, right? If you learn how to manipulate it and use it to better what you do, then I think you're not going to be in danger of being obsolete. I think you could use it to actually maximize what you do.
Yeah, but what happens if the AI becomes self-aware and decides it doesn't need us?
There's a
That it's evolved beyond us. It doesn't require human input anymore because
right.
it's
Well,
self-learning now.
I got a secret island I'll tell you about after we're done the call. Bring your amp and we'll hang out.
We're going to make music for the rest of our lives, right?
Exactly. We're
Oh
gonna
man.
Our first song will be Old MacDonald Had a Farm. AIAIO.
Oh man. Another good reason to have you on the show. You got a great sense of humor, dude.
I need it.
Ah. Well, it's really funny from where I'm coming from. Like
Good.
I always smoke a little bit of a doobie before the show.
Oh wow, okay. I did not
So
know
it,
that.
it puts me in a green frame of mind,
Green.
right? We actually wrote a song, our band, about that. It's about being in a green frame of mind. The
Okay.
song is called Getting Small. It's about smoking pot and getting to your happy place.
Yeah, for some that's what it takes, right?
Well, it don't take much for me. I'm a cheap drunk man. One or two tokes and I'm off to the races. I'm a lightweight.
What do we got here?
And that's because I don't have an addictive personality, right? It's everything for me is excess and moderation.
Excess in moderation. There you go. There's a song title.
Yeah, I mean, like you have to multitask and you have to be able to do so many things throughout the course of your life that you don't have time to get fixated on any one thing.
Not anymore. Right? Back in the day, you could have one band and that could sustain your entire career and existence. But you're right. Like even on a musical basis, you can't really just have one band unless you're in the upper 1%. Right? That's why some of the greatest players on the planet still alive today are in multiple bands.
Yeah.
They have to multitask now in a way.
So some people don't feel the need to be in multiple projects. I mean, some people are happy being in a singular project. For me, I don't have time to be involved in more than one project.
Well, that's the thing too. It depends on the rest of your like
Like our drummer will dabble in other stuff, but the other three of us, we don't, because we don't have the time.
right. Yeah, exactly.
So part of that is just, and then being committed to the project also means that, we all want what's best for the four of us.
Right. That makes sense.
So everything comes down to, 100% agreement with everything when it comes down to, hearing the final recording, right? And saying, yeah, that's the take that we want to put out. We're done here. That's the one that we're going to release. We've done it, 30 times and recorded it 30 times, but that is the one.
Eventually the baby has to be born, right?
Yeah. And when we get really close with recording something, because like I said, we do it all live, no dubs, no overdubs. It's exactly as we recorded off the floor.
Right.
And our room mix is very similar. Like if you came and listened to us in the room and then you heard it played back, you'd be like, is that live or is that Memorex?
Right.
Because because what we took us 2 years to dial in the house mix here and get our live mix on our recording to sound what we hear in the studio.
Okay. That's
So
good. That's
so
cool.
we use a live monitoring system in the studio. So we even get a little bit of side wash from the live monitoring system in our mix. So it's kind of like the same as playing live where, if you're playing with wedge monitors up front, some of your monitor could get back into your main mix.
That's how it was anyway. Right. I
Yeah.
remember being in a friend's car many years ago and I'm in the back seat. There's four of us. He puts on a Van Halen album, Van Halen 1, I think it was, and one of his speakers was blown. So we're hearing, like, I might get this wrong, but you'd hear Alex on drums and David Lee Roth on one speaker. And with the blown speaker, you'd hear like fragments of Michael Anthony. Yeah, you wouldn't, right. But you'd hear like bleed through of Eddie and whatnot. And
Yeah.
it made you realize, like, oh yeah, I've heard of this phenomenon of bleed through
Yeah.
and stuff.
So when we record, we purposely have a bit of bleed through, very much like what would happen if you were in a live performance. So if you were hearing the band live, we're going for that very live feel. So if you hear us play music on any streaming platform, that's what you would expect if you went to a live show.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So what you're hearing isn't going to be any different, but it will be a different feel. It'll be a different version of that song.
Of course. Yep.
Because our lead guitar player will never play the same solo twice.
And that's nothing wrong with that either.
No, and it's because, and it's really, he's one of these guys that just has tremendous feel. So whatever we're giving him in terms of energy is what he's feeling in the solo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, he might use a series of staccatos that he didn't use in a previous recording.
Sure. Yeah. Just go in with whatever. It would be like having a conversation with somebody. Right.
Yeah, like what I heard before might have, I might have heard a pinch harmonic. Instead, I'm hearing a volume swell.
Sure. But you play based on the feedback you're getting from the other members or the other band members. In a conversation like we're having right now, we're not scripted. I don't know what I'm about to say. You don't know
What's
what you're
that?
about to say, right?
No.
What I'm about to say comes off of what you're saying. So it's a feedback loop in a way. It's sort of like, okay, that's your shot across the tennis court. Here's mine, kind of thing. So with players who play different lead all the time, you're improvising based off the feedback you're getting in live time.
Yeah, and again, uh, some of the songs that we do, I start them as the rhythm guitarist. I
Right.
start the song, and so if I start it too quick, it's going to have a completely different feel than if we play it where I should have counted it in.
Well, you're going to get a lot more nasty looks from your band members for sure.
Actually, the interesting thing is I don't.
You don't.
They just think that that's where I want it to be that particular time, right?
Okay.
And sometimes it's because I counted in too fast, or I'm like, I wonder what it would sound like if we played it at this speed,
Right.
right? Well, how would everybody behave differently? And they behave completely differently. If I play a certain song where I always play a little bit slower and I play it more up tempo, I see the bass player digging into it.
Yeah.
Because he's digging that faster tempo.
Yep.
And as a result, I'm hearing bass runs that I wasn't hearing when we were playing it at a different speed.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really interesting because if I find a groove that the bass player really likes, then that changes our whole behavior as a band.
It
You know,
would, for sure.
if he gets into a groove, or sometimes it's me and the drummer putting the bass player into a certain groove, right? Because if I start the song, I'll say to Mike, don't come in for like 4 bars and let me just carry the start, and then you decide what you're going to put on top of that. It's different, and it sounds completely different.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one little thing, one little change in the dynamic can, well, not can, it will make the other players react in a subtle way. Sometimes that reaction could just be swearing. And other times it could be like they will change what they're doing musically. What do we got here?
Dean says, okay, easy question. Kelly, have you ever visited or played anywhere in the Maritimes?
I have not yet. I have not yet. I've never been out east. My mom is from out there, and Bridgewater, in fact. But
Right.
I've never actually been myself.
Now,
That would be cool.
all your musical projects that you're recording with, are they all prog art rock?
Not all of them. Some of them are definitely more metal. Lost Symphony is definitely more of a metal symphonic blend, which you can kind of attribute from the name, I suppose. Instrumental stuff. We do have a new album in the works. Actually, we haven't really talked about that much, but
Nice.
we've got a handful of songs already done in the bag, and once the other members are chilled out from the other stuff they're currently involved in, we'll be putting the wrap on that one.
Right.
And really excited about that.
Awesome.
There's some really crazy
Awesome.
stuff.
Well, I've listened to your other stuff and I like it, so I can't imagine that I won't like the next installment. So,
I think you will.
cool. Can't wait to hear start. I can't wait to. Are you guys going to release the whole album, or are you going to just release it track by track?
I don't think we've ever done track by track fully with any of those
Oh,
previous 3. I think we've done 2 singles. I'm thinking back out of the 3 albums. I think we generally put out 2 singles, and then the whole album will come out.
if you're looking for, I don't know if this next album you're working on is a concept album or not, but we have had a huge uptake of releasing albums in waterfall release style.
Like the entire album, one?
Yeah, the entire album, one track at a time. Like, for example, Brother Leeds from London, Ontario, right? this is a band that, struggled to find their audience on Spotify and other streaming services, right? And this album, when it's fully released, just the other day, we were one track shy. The final track, "The Ugly Carnival," comes out this Friday. Um, and it's a very unique album cover, individual art for every single release, and it was all kind of themed, right?
Yep.
The album is called "The Ugly Carnival," and by the time that the 10th track is released, just yesterday, I think it was, I tabulated 139,000 streams
That's pretty of what?
of
All of them put together, or
all those. Yeah, that's an aggregate total,
yeah,
right? Some of the tracks got over 30,000 streams,
that's cool.
and they were heard in over 65 countries. So
Nice.
try and get that level of distribution
Right.
on vinyl or CD, right? That just
Oh no.
doesn't happen.
No. I think the main general idea for, I would say, the Prismine album is we released everything as a single with a video and with unique artwork, but we're going to hold back the last 2 or 3 songs as like people asking for the physical product. Okay, since you've already heard the songs, you've already downloaded them and checked them out on YouTube and all that other stuff. If you're going to purchase the product, at least here's a couple songs you haven't heard as an incentive to do so, or a thank you to do
Right.
so. That sort of idea. I don't mind putting out the majority of them, but I think having 1 or 2 held back is sort of like, it's just that extra spark for someone to go, yeah, cool. Throw down the.
We
nice
got
receipt.
a tremendous label deal at a pressing plant in Toronto,
Oh, okay.
and we've been able to get some really, really great buys on vinyl. And some of our artists are releasing vinyl this year. Brother Lead's one of them. When their digital album comes out, they'll be releasing a full vinyl release of that album, "The Ugly Carnival."
Very cool.
So it's kind of interesting how these things, go in terms of people starting to be a bit creative with the market, because in many ways, I'm going to see the market expand for independent artists. Most of our artists grew by over 400% last year.
Wow. That's good.
So that's a huge increase for artists that were struggling to find an audience, and without question, right now, so far, most of our artists on our label, their main audience is on Spotify.
Not surprising. It is the main hub, right?
Well, I mean, it's because they're Spotify free, right?
True. That's true.
And I think Spotify free encourages the casual listener to go there and see what's new, what's out there, what's discoverable, what's not. I've even heard mainstream artists when they're interviewed talk about going through Spotify Discovery to discover other bands.
Yeah, it would sort of like be, was it iTunes? They had that that feature called Genesis.
Yep.
I think it was called that, where they would take your general playlist and then they would suggest things similar, and people would go down the rabbit hole, discover new bands that way.
Right.
Add to playlists. That's what you could do now too. Add your stuff to a playlist, a current, like a existing playlist, and then people will discover you from that. Yeah, there's so many different avenues now.
Yeah, and we've been seeing that, with playlist pitching. I've had great success with playlist pitching. Some of our artists have landed on thousands of playlists, which is really, really great when you're, when people are just, you're getting that organic growth of someone saying, "I like this music enough to share it on my playlist."
Right.
And then somebody else finds it that's making a playlist, and they're like, "Oh, I like this song. I'll put it on my playlist," right?
Throws it on their mixtape, right?
Yeah. So next thing you start seeing all these playlist ads and all these different playlists that artists are ending up on.
Yeah.
And it's not a wonder that they're being heard in so many places further away than they ever expected to be heard.
Oh, true. That seems like a natural extension of of that for sure.
Yeah, like last year our music on our whole label was heard in 165 different markets in 195 countries of the world.
Pretty crazy when you look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that level of penetration, where are you going to get that anywhere?
No.
You know, and the thing is that I'm not paying for it.
Right.
Right? It doesn't cost me anything to get that level of penetration for our artists. There is a cost because, you know, streaming services as a rule do not pay very well.
No. No.
And you know, maybe we'll talk about that next time we have you on the show.
Sure.
We're ending the first overtime period here, so
Dun, 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 dun.
we're a little lay it on the line. Yeah. So Kelly Kereliuk, he is what city do you hail from?
Hamilton.
You're in Hamilton.
Hamilton,
And
Ontario.
and so you know a lot of people in the Hamilton area.
Yeah, fair amount.
You have a school?
Not per se.
Are you taking
Not an
students
official
still?
name. Oh yeah, yeah. Yep. I still teach full time, and I do it all on. Well, I was going to say Skype, but Skype's kaput now.
Right.
So Teams, I suppose you could say. Even a few on Facebook, on Messenger.
How does somebody reach out to you if they want to be a student?
Oh, just hit me up on Messenger or my email, anything like that.
All right. Well, Kelly Kereliuk, thank you for joining me this evening on the Indie Show. It's been great having you here. Got to have you back because we want to talk about that whammy bar.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You saw that video.
Yeah, I saw the video. And so I think we need to talk about that a little bit because I think that is a definite skill. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. There's a lot to unpackage there.
Definitely.
And we can talk about that on the next episode of the Indie Show when Kelly comes back. We'll negotiate a date with him for future. Kelly Kereliuk, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been the Indie Show. I'm Kenny. You're not. Have a great end of your